democratization of air travel, it's a theme we come back to, consistently with our government. But airfares are so high. And I know you'll say, look, market forces determine airfares. But then you do have ATF prices. And when you have ATF prices, you do have taxes. So reconcile
So
this
I will,
contradiction
so
for me.
I will do that with you. Certainly, the civil aviation industry is a deregulated industry, and I do not think that it is your desire or our viewers' desire to re-regulate a
Absolutely
deregulated
not.
market. 3 points I want to put across to you. The first, and I think it's important that you and I and our viewers also understand that the civil aviation industry world over is a cyclical market. Our demand and supply goes through what we experience a seasonality curve, and therefore you have flat periods of demand, which is roughly from March, April to about May, June, and then you have a low season, which is monsoon season from June, July till end of September, early October, and then the festive season kicks in, which is the high season of travel. And world over, you have this scenario of low fares and high fare season. One. The second point I want to make to you is that fares across the world function on what we call RBDs, which is redesignated bucket designators, reservation bucket designators, which means that if you book maybe a month and a half in advance, you'll get the lowest fare, 2,000 rupees, 2,500 rupees. And as the seats keep filling up and demand keeps filling up, the prices do go higher. The third point that you already have made is that unlike pre-19, air turbine fuel prices, which in 2019 was ranging between 40 to 53,000 rupees a kiloliter, today is at 1,17,000 rupees
Shot
a
through the
kiloliter.
roof.
And this is because of the global environment. We import our ATF. And having said that, the very fact that you have a 2.5 times increase in what is in a civil aviation sector's 50% of its cost structure. ATF constitutes almost 50% of an airline's cost structure. It definitely has its repercussions. So how do we get about fiscally making sure that airlines are in a position to meet their costs? Because as you know, most of them are bleeding. It's not as if by charging these high fares, you've got huge amount of profits that are coming to these airlines. They're still making losses. So the one thing that I did as early as August of last year is I decided that we have a VAT on ATF which ranges between 1% to 30%. And we had roughly about 12 states that charged between 1 to 4% in July of last year. And we had close to about 24 states that charged between 20 to 30% VAT. So assume a 2.5 times increase in ATF plus a 30% VAT on a 2.5 time increase. And what would the burden be of that on the airline? So I then went and pleaded with states. I made them understand the whole concept of economic gains through higher connectivity. If you lower ATF in states, then the plausibility and the probability that airlines will refuel in those states is much higher. And I have to say, and I'm through you and your channel, I'd like to thank the chief ministers and the lieutenant governors of 16 states.
16 out of 26 are on board.
Out of 24. 16 states are not on board. They had a cabinet meeting. They've reduced their ATF from 20 to 30% down to 1 to 4%. So now a situation where we had 12 states in a low ATF regime and 24 states in a 20 to 30% ATF regime. Out of these 24, 16 have moved over here. So now we have 28 states between 1 to 4% and only 8 states that are left in this basket. And I'd like to plead to the leadership of these states, please come on board, because the arguments that I have made in terms of greater connectivity, greater refueling have already seen dividends in the states that have moved over. So for example, in Srinagar, after the Lieutenant Governor passed the ratification, gave the Gazette notification to me, within 3 weeks, refueling increased by 360% in Srinagar. So airlines will not want to refuel in those states where VAT is so high. And slowly you're going to have that refueling melee, if you will, or the spree moving away to lower ATF states. And these states will get marginalized, the 8 states that are left in the higher tax bracket.